So you have developed your first AI vibe coded application completely using AI, or at least 80 to 90% of the application is developed by AI. And you started to go on production. The app is ready, the domain is ready, the application is totally accessible now on the internet. All good, everything looks fine. And then you woke up, you see this and this and this. Now, if you don't know, your AI coded application most probably is being attacked by bots on the internet. Or in the worst case scenario, someone was able to get into your database and now has access to download all of the data. Good news, in this quick video, I'm going to explain some tips and tricks you can implement in your AI vibe coded application to prevent these attacks. We're going to go through some security best practices that you can ask your AI to implement for you. So we are still using AI to secure our web application. So I assume you are using the current tech stack mentioned on the screen: Supabase, Vercel for deployment, Next.js, GitHub, and TypeScript. By the way, this is one of the most popular tech stack used by people to vibe code AI application. And it's totally fine to use this popular tech stack. Actually, AI is pretty good at working with this specific tools and technology. So let's start by the first tip. It's not an actual tip. This is like the APC fundamentals of securing your web application, which is never expose secret keys. So let's say you have set up your Supabase, right? And you have to write your Supabase key somewhere in your project. Now, the worst thing you can actually do is randomly expose this key into the public. So if you have uploaded your code into a platform like GitHub or so, this API key is going to be most probably exposed to the public. So there are actually active bots on GitHub who are actively searching for such vulnerability. And when they catch someone uploaded a secret API key, they're going to automatically start attacking your application. So the first step, always put all of your API keys on .env file and make sure you put this file into the gitignore file. So the gitignore file is going to basically tell GitHub, please ignore this file. Don't upload it into the internet. Always make sure to have all of your API keys stored in this file. Second step, use an API rate limiter. This is very important, and I'm going to give you a good example. So let's say you have a service where someone enters his email address, and when he clicks a button, he gets a welcome to my app email. Very simple service. On average, this service is expected to get between 5K to 10K requests per day. And when one day you woke up and you see the service has been requested 3 million times. Now, this is a very unusual scenario. It's a very high spike. So the first thing you want to do is use an API rate limiter. This is going to basically prevent people from overuse your API. Also, you may actually not trust your application users. So you want also to set up an API rate limiter for them. Let's say on average, you are expecting someone when you create a new post, on average, that creative post process gets hit like 3 to 4 times. Now, what happens if someone keeps spamming the create post button and he's just clicking create post, create post, create post. And when every time he clicks the button, it triggers your API call. So in this case, you also want to set up an API rate limiter for your own users. So when sometimes the request goes above the average limits per minute or per second, your application will stop handling this request and it's automatically going to be dropped out. If you are using Supabase, there are some API rate limiter that you can actually configure from your project settings, such as rate limiting for sending confirmation email, also rate limits for sign up and sign up. Or you can use a third-party tool like Appstash, where it's going to help you to implement API rate limiter within your application. Third tip, always add Captcha in your authentication routes. So sometimes you go to a website and you visit their sign in or sign up page and you always hit confirm your human page or confirm your human Captcha. This small challenge is actually for a reason. And the reason for that, sometimes there's a smart bot on the internet who is just going to spam your sign in and sign up process. They're going to actively create a new account in your application. So to prevent these bots from accessing your sign in and sign up routes, you need to have a Captcha. It's very hard for them or almost impossible for program bots to bypass the Captcha, except of course for some advanced AI tools that were built mainly to bypass Captcha. But now we are speaking on the general bots on the internet. So always add a Captcha into your sign in and sign up routes. This is going to add a small challenge to make sure that the person who is signing or signing up is actually a real human. You can use Cloudflare it's Captcha or reCaptcha. All of these tools are very easy to set up. You can just ask your AI to start setup and guide you on the setup process of these nice tools. Step number 4, row level security. This is pretty advanced, but since you are using AI is going to handle it perfectly for you. So let's say one had access to one of your secret API keys. Let's say your Supabase anon key, which is basically used to access database records. If you implemented row-level security, even though someone had access to your anon secret key, he still cannot access any data in your database if you set up row-level security. Row-level security, basically, you can define that each user can only see his own data. So when an authenticated user tries to access this type of data, he will not be able to access any of those, even though he has an anon key, because we enabled row-level security. This is an example of a simple row-level security. We are basically creating a policy allowing users to only select and insert posts from their own accounts. So if some hacker was able to find your API routes for creating or updating a new posts, and he had access to one of your anon security keys, then it's still going to be hard for him to insert any new post to your database because of row-level security, where authenticated users only have access to upload or create a new post. Step number 5, always use provider built-in security options. So if you are using Supabase or Vercel, for example, these nice platforms actually has implemented built-in security features. So you can enable attack protection, you can add some network restrictions, and you can do some basic rate limiting. One of the good examples is Vercel Attack Challenge Mode. Basically, it's an option from Vercel dashboard. You can enable it by going to the firewall tab and basically enable it. And it's going to add a small security challenge when people try to access your application. This challenge is going to prevent bots from accessing your application from the starting point. Also in Supabase, there is network restrictions. There's a nice documentation there where you can see the built-in security features that platforms has implemented. Another cool feature also in Vercel, you can set up rules in your firewall. It's very intuitive. Step number 6, never expose your backend code to the client side. I actually was developing a web application using an AI, and when I was doing security checks, I found that a lot of the code or a lot of the backend SQL queries were exposed to the client side. And this is a very common vulnerability by the AI. It happens to me in a lot of projects where I saw the AI is commonly fixing up backend code with the client side. So was one of the examples. This actually was exposed entirely into the client side. So someone can simply inspect elements, go to the network tabs, and see the SQL queries that I wrote to accessing some data from the database. So he can know that I have a table called location, and this is the columns on that locations table. And pretty much he can see the entire backend code on this page. It's a very big security vulnerability. You have to take care of it and always ask your AI to go through your entire code base and make sure all of the backend and the SQL queries is separated from the client side. This is a very important thing you have to ask your AI for because it's a very common vulnerability across AI tools. Last 2 tips. Always ask your AI to use the latest library. A lot of the tools that we are using like Supabase and so on has a lot of depreciated libraries for various use. Maybe they have depreciated because of security reasons, performance reasons. So you always want your AI to have access to the internet, explore this latest documentation, and make sure to use the latest libraries to avoid any old security vulnerabilities. Last tip, it's always not going to hurt if you hired a security engineer to have a look around your application, make sure everything is good. It's not going to take too much time from him if you have a simple web application, yet it's going to make sure your application is secure and your users' data is secure. Last thing, I have created a custom GPT that's going to act as your security consultant. You can ask it for tips and tricks to secure your application. It's going to give you the latest best practices in the security space to secure your application. Make sure to have a look around it. I'm going to leave that link in the description. See you in the next one.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.